Hello and welcome to Write the Docs Portland. My name's Eric Holscher, and I'm one of the co-founders of Write the Docs and the conference chair this year. I'm super excited to welcome you all here to the 2022 edition of the Write the Docs conference. We have lots of great stuff in store for you, and that's kind of what I'm here to talk to you about today is kind of introduce you to all the things that we're doing and talk a little bit more about Write the Docs as an organization. But we do want to start things off with something we've done the last few years, which is a land acknowledgement, which talks a little bit more about the land that we're all sitting on today. I will do it for Portland, but it's really neat. Somebody pointed out a couple years ago this website that lets you know more about the land that you're on as well. And after that, we'll take a short moment of silence. So we acknowledge this land rests on the traditional village sites of the Multnomah, Wasco, Cowlitz, Clackamas, Chinook, Tualatin, Malala, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River. We take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land. So thank you for doing that with me. I do think it's pretty important to remember a little bit about the history of the land that we're all on today. And so we also hope that you're doing okay. Unfortunately, this year has been another rough year, both with kind of COVID and the war in Ukraine and a number of other things that have made things really hard this year. And so we just wanted to note that we hope you're doing okay, and that we hope that the conference can be kind of a bright spot on your calendar that you've been looking forward to. We do miss being in person. We really tried to do something in person this year, figure out kind of the hybrid format, but just weren't able to kind of pull it together in a way that we thought was going to be, fitting for the quality that we like to have at our events. And so we're a little sad to not be seeing your lovely faces, but we really hope to be back next year in person. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that kind of at the end of this talk today. So that brings us to kind of the core question of that we ask maybe more often than we should is, what are we doing here? Why are we all at this conference? What are the goals that we should be having? And as an organizer, really what we want to focus on is community. We really believe that kind of bringing people together in real time and building those connections between people creates something kind of greater than the sum of its parts. And we're really excited that we've been able to kind of build a community over the years through our conferences, and really focused on, the goal of this event really is for all of you and providing you a space to connect with each other. And that's been kind of our ongoing goal for a long time now. So who's here? One of the things that we really think about a lot is kind of trying to create a space that's more than just for people who write, technical writers or people that write the majority of their time in their roles. We need to have these bridges that bring everyone together who cares about documentation. And so we think about that as, designers, people in the DevOps or DevRel spaces, marketing, testers, developers, all these different people have interest in documentation. And anyone who really cares about good documentation and good communication is people that we kind of include in the word that we use of documentarians. And so we're always excited to kind of note that, that's one of the goals that we have is, expanding the group of people who care about documentation. And so this, you can see here the little emoji that one of my friend's kids made me on my phone here. But this is the 10th Portland conference, which is kind of amazing. 2013, I believe, was the first year that we ever did a Write the Docs, and we've done one every year since. And so we're not doing too much celebration this year. We're going to hopefully hold off for next year, which will be the 10th year of the organization existing, and then maybe do something in person, or I'm not quite sure yet. I'm not great at celebrations, but it is kind of notable that it's the 10th Portland conference. And so to celebrate that occasion, for the first time, I've removed the slide that says we have no idea what we're doing. And hopefully at this point we have a little bit of an idea of what we're doing. But really the whole kind of history of that kind of is to say that this is not a finished product. Everything that we're building, the conferences, the community, all these spaces are works in progress. And we really do value people's feedback and ideas and ways to improve what we're doing. And so we really would appreciate any feedback that you have on what we're doing, ways to make things better. Any energy you have in that direction is always going to be super appreciated by us. And so at this conference, we like to give you a job. You're here. You have to have something to do while you're here. So what should you be focusing on? And the big thing that I think about is kind of making friends, learning something, and having fun. And I really do believe that your professional life will be a lot better if you're close with people that you can kind of share that context with. And so, if you can meet people in the community and work together to, collaborate or commiserate as needed, it really does make your professional life a lot richer. And similarly, there's so many people here that we can learn something from. We have the speakers who are giving talks, but really everybody in the audience as well has something to share. And that's why we have so many interactivity or spaces that allow for interactivity, like the unconferences, the lightning talks, the social events, all these kind of spaces where you can kind of learn from each other in unstructured ways as well. And I also believe that, this can be fun at the same time. It doesn't have to be a slog to be doing your work, especially in a space like this. So that's really one of our goals, is for you to kind of have those jobs in mind. And then similarly, how we act in this space is really important. The way that you engage here is the way that it will feel for everyone else. And we really want this to be somewhere that feels welcoming, that feels open, that feels supportive and positive. Like if people share some of their half-baked ideas, we really want people to engage positively and give them support and not just pick them apart, the second you hear them. And I think, the fact that we've been doing this for 10 years really shows that we've been able to create this space as somewhere where people feel they can share some of their ideas and be supported and make them better. And so we really hope to do that again this year. And we're always excited that people are, we ask this and that people deliver so effectively at our conferences. So one of the things we've always done to try and, kind of work towards that a little bit in the physical realm is the Pac-Man rule, which is basically when you're standing in a group of people, always leaving a space for one person to join you. So it feels like they can actually engage with your conversation. And obviously, online that doesn't apply quite as much, but I think we can take some of the same lessons away of kind of just making people feel included, right? So when somebody joins in a video chat or in a chat room, acknowledging them, bringing them into the conversation, these kind of things, just making sure that it doesn't feel kind of scary to engage with a group of people at Write the Docs is the goal here. And then similarly, something we've been doing for the past few years is the snowball rule, which says for every year you've attended, we encourage you to meet one new person each day. And so for me, apparently, that's 10 people. So I'm going to be doing a lot of meetings, so please do reach out. But the two big takeaways here are, if this is your first year, we really just encourage you to meet one new person each day. And that's a very attainable goal, and it doesn't feel overwhelming. And then similarly, if you've been here for a while, you have a little bit more responsibility for reaching out and getting to know new people. Because we do want the people who have been attending for a number of years to be a little bit more engaging, a little more outgoing in meeting new people to bring in the new folks. So that's kind of the snowball rule, and something that we're just trying to do to, just make it feel a little less scary to be a first-time attendee. And then similarly, you have permission to meet anyone who's here. The speakers, the organizers, aren't inherently special. Maybe their talk got selected this year and maybe yours will get selected next year. But everyone here is super approachable and they would love to talk to you about what they're excited about. And so don't feel scared about coming up to me or one of the speakers or whoever else and just saying hi. But similarly, you also have permission to maintain your mental health, right? If you need to skip a talk and go take a walk, like go do that, right? You don't have to be here every minute of every day. And, put up the boundaries you need to keep your energy up and feel good here. And so along those lines, we do ask that you ask a group of people before posting something on social media that shows faces. So yeah, if you're in a group chat or something and you want to show that online for some reason, just ask to make sure nobody objects before you put it online. And then similarly, our platform does support posting GIFs in the chat, but they are an accessibility problem, and they also just kind of take over the chat. and that's not what we want the chat to be used for, is a bunch of reaction GIFs. So we're just asking that folks don't post GIFs in the chat, just so we can keep a little bit more of the conversation going there. And then similarly as well, we have always had a code of conduct at our events. And the code of conduct is a minimum, not a standard, right? I've already talked a little bit about the high standards that we expect from our attendees. But the code of conduct is really kind of setting a standard set of processes around how we will deal if people act, incredibly out of line. And so we do have a standard process. We have, ways that we take reports and talk to people and keep reporters anonymous, all that kind of stuff. And so remember that is a thing that exists here at the conference, in all of our spaces, the social event, all that kind of stuff. So if you do have any kind of issue, somebody makes you feel uncomfortable, please talk to an organizer or someone at the help desk if you have those issues. Similarly, if you need to do something more anonymously or feel more comfortable in email, you can always send something to conduct@writethedocs.org. And then even if you're not 100% sure, like it was a totally over the line kind of thing, let us know just if something's kind of borderline. Because if a few different people tell us something like that, that'll sway us into maybe taking an action that we wouldn't necessarily otherwise take if it's making multiple people feel a little bit uncomfortable. So please do reach out if there's something that just feels a little off, not just something that's absolutely terrible. And so normally we would bring our lovely team of organizers onto the stage. The slide is almost overflowing with people this year, which fills my heart. Yes, please do reach out to an organizer if you have any issues, and then we'll follow our standard kind of process there. So I'd like to talk a little bit just about kind of all of the events that we have here. I've mentioned a few already. I want to dive in a little bit more just so you understand kind of what all is happening at the conference. So first off is, of course, the main stage. That's on the stage tab there. And that'll be happening throughout most of the days. We had lots of great talks. And most notably, there is live captioning, which you can access at a link down here, and moderated Q&A after. So if you want to ask a question to the speaker, we ask that you just do a Q and a colon in the chat, and we have a magic bot that will pull all those into a spreadsheet and drop them in so our moderator can edit them. And then the moderated Q&A will happen after the talk. There'll be a few minute break, and that'll happen in a session. So lightning talks as well happen both days after lunch. They are 5-minute talks where you can kind of talk about whatever you want. And there's a sign-up form at reception, so it's just a link where you can put in your talk idea. And this is great if you want to, practice speaking in front of a crowd. And yeah, it's just a really great way to kind of get your ideas out there, today. You can sign up right now. And so basically that'll be open until about an hour before lunch. And then during that hour before lunch, we'll kind of look at the submissions, decide who's speaking. And then right before lunch, we'll let people know who's giving the talk after lunch. So pretty quick turnaround on that. Then the unconference is Monday all day and Tuesday afternoon. And this is a structured space for interactive conversations. And so basically what this is the sessions will all be numbered, and then we'll have a spreadsheet which maps basically a number and a time to a session. So you're able to use that to say, hey, at 10:45, there's a talk on, doc analytics in session 2. And so at 10:45, you just show up in session 2 and talk about doc analytics. And so no need to sign up to attend. But if you do have an idea, you want to find other people who care a whole lot about the Oxford comma, you can sign up as well for your own space, and people will join you. So this is really exciting as a way to kind of find other people who have similar interests. And then in the same kind of session space, or sorry, not the session space, but in the expo space, on Tuesday morning, we'll have the job fair. And so that'll be where a bunch of our sponsors will be getting together and talking about working at their companies. So many of them have openings. And yeah, if you're just curious more about kind of working with those folks, that's a great opportunity to talk to them. Then last but not least, the social event will be Monday evening, and it'll be, like I mentioned, in a spatial chat program, which is pretty fun. And it actually, you have a little avatar you can move around and join conversations a little more naturally. And that'll be a link that you find in the reception. And yeah, you just click in, you don't have to register or anything. And yeah, that'll be Monday evening/afternoon. So then there's a few other spaces that are notable. We do have the help desk in the Expo tab, which is full of our Welcome Wagon team who can answer all your questions. And not just, technical questions. If you're like, how do I do an unconference or anything like that, they're a great resource there. We also have the hallway sessions for unstructured conversation. So, maybe at a coffee break or before the talk's open for the day, you can jump in there or after and just find people who are just kind of chatting similar to a hallway. And then also any kind of name that you see in chat, you can click on and do a private chat with them. And that works for both video and text. And then you can actually do, 2 or 3 group conversations in that chat feature as well. And then hopefully we won't need this, but we do also have a channel WTD conferences in our Slack network. And that's where we'll kind of be posting announcements and information in the case of technical issues. So, for example, if Hopin totally goes down, that'll be the place to go to look for more information. I will probably post on Twitter as well. We'll be running around very very energetically if Hopin crashes. So, I think that is the high level overview of the conference, and we just can't thank you enough for coming. The speakers who put in the time to create the talks, all the organizers and staff who are here kind of putting everything together, all of our sponsors who help make this happen and, put on the job fair with us, and the attendees, like you as well, right? Like you buying a ticket, being here, and kind of believing the Write the Docs is something that should exist is what allows us to keep doing this year after year. And so we do really appreciate your support as well. So this is a list of all of our sponsors. Google, again, like many years now, is our top sponsor, and lots of other wonderful, wonderful companies who you can talk more with throughout the conference. And then just another slide of all of our staff. So many wonderful people here who've put in a ton of work to make this conference happen. So we really do appreciate all the time that they've put in as well. Notably, we do have Bart on here in the bottom right, who's making this video happen. Thank you, Bart. And then Vanessa, who's doing the live captioning on there as well. So super key part of this experience as well. So we do want to take a few minutes here at the end to talk a little bit about the larger Write the Docs community, kind of zoom out a little bit. Outside of the conference, we've really started to have a more kind of global community of people who care about documentation. So notably, we do have some other conferences in Prague and Australia coming up later this year. We have meetups all across the world. Some of those have slowed down with COVID, which is totally understandable. A lot have been virtual. We've done some cool stuff with quorum meetups, kind of grouping folks together. There was actually a session on this Monday afternoon where we'll talk a little bit more about meetups. And then we do have that Slack network I mentioned. The numbers there keep growing. We're up to 16,000 members. And then our mailing list as well, where we do a newsletter, which is really wonderful each month, that has lots of wonderful tidbits of, very actionable information around docs. That's getting up to 10,000 as well. So really kind of amazing, all the people around the world, all the different meetups that really make the community what it is. It's kind of mind-blowing to really think about at scale. And so looking to the future, COVID has really been a big mental shift. And I think a lot of the folks on our team and you as well probably have some fatigue around the pandemic. And we're really trying to think about how can we support all the people in this new world. And that's a very ambiguous thing, but really trying to think about, how can we keep doing some of the virtual things that we're doing to keep them accessible. How do we keep people, supported kind of with mental health, right? As well as kind of professionally. There's a lot of big questions there that we don't have answers for, but we're thinking about. Yeah. And one of the big ones is kind of next year's events. We tried to do hybrid this year, and we really felt the tension between virtual and in person, and how do we deliver? The big question is, if we're in person, how do we deliver a quality event to people virtually? And so one of the things I always think of as an example is the job fair. So say you're a job fair, a person, at the job fair for a company. How do you kind of split your time between virtual and in person? If you're on your computer and somebody walks up to you in a room, like, it's incredibly difficult to ignore that person. Like there's just some very, very tricky dynamics there that we didn't really figure out how to work around. And so one of the ideas we're having is kind of trying to do a in-person and a virtual event next year, but not having them at the same time, and actually kind of splitting them up into two different events in some fashion. But so keeping the accessibility of the virtual event is important, and keeping the quality as well. So one of the other things we thought a lot about over COVID is kind of on-ramps. Like, how do people get involved? How do people become organizers? How do people, get more engaged with the community? Because we feel like there's a lot that needs to be done, and we don't have a great process for getting people who have energy to actually kind of get onboarded and become an organizer, become a team member on one of our teams. And we're going to talk about this a little bit in our meetup session as well. But this is something we're thinking about as well. Of, there's a lot of energy, but how do we harness it, and how do we support people if they want to do a project and they want to do it with us? What does that look like? And we're still thinking about some kind of membership model. We mentioned this last year, and I spun up a GitHub sponsors account and got halfway there and just didn't quite get to launching it. But yeah, we're really trying to figure out all these things we want to do. How do we support them, right? Like, asking people to work for free for a long period of time is not sustainable. And we've had great success, providing people at least some amount of money for ongoing, support in the community. But our budgets are still very small, and there's so much more we want to do. So figuring out how do we map what we want to do to some kind of sustainable funding is something that we keep thinking more about and want to experiment more with. And I think it really, really all comes down to how can we help you, right? Like, the beauty of building something for a community is it doesn't really matter what we want. It really matters what you need. And what you need is what we need to know to be able to figure out how to support you. And I think this is the big question that I have is there something that you would like to see Write the Docs doing? This is really the only way to grow. We can build things that nobody uses, and that doesn't help anybody. And so really understanding how we're able to support people in the community better is incredibly important for us for moving forward. And so this is something I would ask you to think about. Is there something you wish, that Write the Docs could do, or just in general that you had as a resource in your professional world? That would be super helpful if you think of that and let us know. And so, how do you stay in touch with us? You can always find us on Twitter at Write the Docs, the Write the Docs hashtag as well. And then the Slack is probably the best place. All the organizers are on Slack. Those are all great places to get in touch with us. And you can also email us at support@writethedocs.org. And I think that's everything. Thank you so much for attending. We're really excited that you're here. We're really excited to be doing another another Write the Docs conference. And we hope you have a great time and look forward to seeing you around in the next few days. Thank you again, and see you soon.